Hello and welcome to TelecomTV. I'm Martin Warwick. We're here in San Jose in very sunny California at the NFV World Congress 2017. I'm talking with an old friend, Dan Pitt. Dan, welcome. Good to see you again.
Thank you, Martin. A pleasure to see you too.
Since we last met, you have changed horses, as it were. You were with another organisation and now you are Senior Vice President with MEF, Metro Ethernet Forum, as I believe it used to be called and probably still is.
It's now officially the MEF Forum.
There we are. Okay, but it still has the same antecedents. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's start with that. Why did you move?
So I thought it was time to essentially go where the customers were for the technologies and ideas we were developing. And who are the customers for SDN and NFV and SDNFV and cloud? It wasn't so much the web scale, because they already had that. They didn't need it from us. The enterprises are not quite ready. It was really the communication service providers that needed it. And they are in MEF, 110, 20 plus communication service providers. So I wanted to go to where the customers were.
Now the MEF has been going for quite some time, has it not? It's well founded. How vital is its role these days compared to what it was? Was it 2002 it came into being?
Correct.
So we're talking 15 years or so, and that's a long time in technology terms. Is it still immediately relevant to the way the markets are changing now?
I think it's more relevant perhaps than it's been in a few years. We made our reputation on carrier Ethernet, and that turned into a huge market. I mean, we defined services over whatever kind of transport, and that was a revelation. And it's very successful. It's a huge market. Now we are really promoting network as a service and something called lifecycle service orchestration that really works above all kinds of transports and all kinds of components, open source and closed source, to define services by which the CSPs can make money.
Okay, that's very straightforward, and it's nice to hear somebody actually mention the dreaded word money, because many people would think this is all very altruistic and it's being done for the sake of technology, which of course it is, but then if nobody makes money out of it in the end, then there's something wrong. And this is one of the points I want to put to you. We're now, what, 4 years on from the initial white paper on NFV. There was a huge amount of fuss and hype and a lot of work done on it, and it became very, very popular, very intense, very quickly. And in the past, what, 12 months or so, there's been some kind of a reaction to that, should we say, exuberance, and the market, or the attitude to the market, seems to have cooled somewhat. Do you agree with that?
I agree. It's a confrontation with reality. It's great in concept. How do you actually deploy it? And because it involves virtualization and computing and skills that aren't quite so prevalent in the CSPs, there's a long learning curve. We have open source projects. We have closed source vendor products. How do you, first of all, integrate that into the brownfield environment that most operators live with? And then how do you try it in some greenfield environments to get some experience? So the whole notion of NFV as a concept is easily accepted, but how do you realize it in terms of actual VNFs, actual MANO, and related to current OSS and BSS? Okay.
What do you think, Dan, vendors have to do to convince CSPs that the transformation is worth the pain they're undertaking and experiencing along the way as the journey progresses?
I don't think it's the vendors that have to do the convincing. I think it's the business environment that does the convincing. They have to be competitive. They have to dynamically grow their organizations in new directions and take on new business models and new skills. And they get that from their competitors, which include competitors in the CSP space, competitors in the data center space, and competitors in the web scale operator space.
Okay. Of course, we wouldn't be in this industry if we weren't used to acronyms and buzzwords and everything else. I don't know how many we've been through in our careers, but quite a lot. One of the latest ones is cloud native. I'm sure you've come across it as I have. What does it mean?
So let's start from the notion of applications. It's applications that drive business. That's what enterprises and consumers, the customers of the CSPs, really want. They just want applications. They want to get to them. More and more of them live in the cloud. Now, to become a cloud native operator, you have to have access to the clouds, and that's the connectivity part. That's something they're familiar with. But if you're going to start building telco clouds to provide these and to run your operation off it, you need to have the features of cloud native. You need to have containers. You need to have scale out. need to have N plus K redundancy. You need to have geographical diversity. You need to understand microservices. These are things that are not really in the vocabulary very much of the CSPs, but it's something they are becoming more comfortable with and developing the skills around. So it really has to do with the transformation of the telecom industry from one of transmission to really one of computing.
Indeed, and to do that, it's a difficult process because they're having to take on IT terminology and IT itself that they have traditionally had nothing to do with. Mm-hmm. Are you seeing that they're having difficulty with that? You mentioned they're getting used to the idea. Is it a long journey? It
takes time. It is a bit of a journey. It's a culture journey. Mm-hmm. It's a technical journey. It's a personal journey. And so these things do take time. As we saw even with the fundamentals of SDN, it's really the cultural change that's the longest one to accomplish.
Indeed. Okay, let's move on. We talked about cloud native. Let's look at a couple more buzzwords or buzz phrases. We're hearing a lot about network automation and zero touch. Evidently, as SDN and NFV are deployed in real world, real live networks, with what they can bring to the party, you're going to get a lot more applications, a lot more traffic, services, a lot more traffic across the networks, and that's going to have a profound effect unless they can automate it. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, there's going to be collapses of service and all sorts of things. How near or how difficult is network automation to achieve, and what is meant by zero touch?
So, so zero touch means that you don't have a person sitting at a telephone or a screen in a network operator facility to make a change if a customer wants to add a service or add bandwidth or change it in some way. We will have customer portals that could have a person at them, or they could be automated by software at the customers that then talks to software at the operator site to make these changes. They could be scheduled, they could be on demand, they could be in reaction to certain conditions. What does it take to make it zero touch? You need automated modification of the network behavior. What does that involve? It involves, number one, understanding what's happening in the network. So you need measurement, you need data collection, you need analysis of it into information, and that's basically network analytics. Then you need network policy. This is determined by the operator in conjunction with their customers. The policy drives the desired behavior of the network. When you know what the network state is and you know what the policy goals are, then you determine how to change the network behavior. To change the network behavior from where these decisions are made, that's where SDN fits in. It's a remote control of network behavior that can all be automated. And okay. We are actually seeing examples of that now. In MEF, we have some demonstrations we've done that include really customer provisioning through a customer portal with entire automation by the operator.
Final question to you. Staying on network automation and zero touch, how long do you think this is going to take to happen? Because obviously people want to see the results of SDN and NFV working to their benefit. But if the systems and the analysis, as you've been saying, and the monitoring are not in place underneath it, it could lead to problems, as we said, collapse of the network, subscribers, end users becoming frustrated as a result of it. How long is it going to take?
Well, the question is, how long does it take to get there? The question is, where is there? We've already gotten to a number of there points. And so this is really a continuous process. We are seeing perhaps one of the first real killer apps for what I call SDNFV. It's a term I introduced here in my keynote last year, and that's SD-WAN, the software-defined WAN. It's a terrific business prospect already. It is doable. It uses virtualization. It uses the cloud where appropriate, and it's really a win-win for the customers, the vendors, and the operators. So my own, sort of timeline, I'm always looking 3 to 5 years for when, wow, if I look back 5 years or 6 years now since we started ONF, can you imagine what it was like back then before we even knew how to spell SDN? Look how far we have come. Are we satisfied? No. Will we ever be satisfied? No. But I see these in waves that are sort of 2 to 4 years long. It takes a while to get used to it, to try it, then to deploy it, and then you realize what the next problem is, and then you start attacking that.
I said that was the last question, but it's not, because I'm going to ask you one more, which is, fully understand what you said and appreciate it. I think it seems to me that the elephant in the room that's not mentioned very much is 5G, because 5G is going to change everything. What do you make of that? Do you think there will be problems with 5G, given that it seems to be a universal nostrum, all things to all men?
It is everything to everyone. Everything we're doing is going to advance the cause of 5G. Turn around the other way, and 5G is going to be one of the vehicles for delivering applications and delivering network as a service. The advantage of taking an LSO approach like we do in MEF with the defined APIs and abstractions is that as an operator progresses toward full 5G with parts of it here, parts of it there, and new technology here, the application doesn't change, the API does not change. They can accommodate those advances in each area of the network and network technology as they are ready. So I think having LSO above the whole concept of 5G will make it easier to gradually deploy 5G.
Great stuff. Dan Pitt, as usual, thank you.
My pleasure, Martin.